You're probably here because you're looking for a video of a funny cat, but you clicked the wrong thing. But if you're looking for a video that explains what blockchain technology is, how it works, some of its applications like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and why people are so excited about blockchain technology, then you've come to the right place, because people are very excited about it. John McAfee said of Bitcoin, it will be everywhere and the world will have to readjust. World governments will have to readjust. That is a pretty strong statement. The Pirate King said Bitcoin is getting there, but it's not there yet. When it gets there, expect governments to panic and society to be reshaped. Whoa. Eric Schmidt, who is the CEO of Lady Fifi's poodle grooming salon, said Bitcoin is a remarkable cryptographic achievement, and the ability to create something that is not duplicable in the digital world has enormous value. Bitcoin is the beginning of something great, a currency without a government. So you see, a lot of people are talking about the implications for government and society, but it's just a piece of software. What can a piece of software be that is going to reshape society? Well, Bitcoin basically is just a ledger. You know what a ledger looks like, right? This is a ledger. A ledger is a list of accounts and a list of how much money is in each one of the accounts. And every bank has a ledger. They used to be on paper, probably still are in some places, but most banks keep their ledger encrypted in a computer in a vault somewhere. But the vulnerability of that is that somebody can come along and blow up your bank's computer. Or somebody can hack the bank's computer. And all the financial data will be lost that way. Bitcoin is unlike that in the sense that the ledger doesn't live in one computer. It lives in a global distributed network of thousands and thousands of computers. And that's very interesting because that way there isn't a guy with access to the computer who has control of your financial data. Whereas in a bank, there is. If I go to a bank and say, I'd like to take my money out, somebody at the bank has to agree to give me my money. And they could say, no. I mean, that happened in Cyprus. People went to withdraw their money from the banks and the banks didn't cough up. But with Bitcoin, I have direct access. There is no gatekeeper between me and my money. So that's the first thing a blockchain is. A blockchain is a global distributed database with nobody in charge. In the case of Bitcoin, that's a database of account balances. The second thing Bitcoin is a token for exchange. And the people who built Bitcoin did so without any interface with any existing financial infrastructure, without talking to any bank, any government, without backing it up with any physical good like gold. They just created a digital token that can be exchanged. And it's not worth anything, but then again, neither is this. This is just a piece of paper. But if I am willing to work for this piece of paper, if I'm willing to exchange valuable goods for it, then by definition, it has value. So first thing Bitcoin is a distributed ledger. Second thing it is a token for exchange. All right, next point is though, when I send Bitcoins to you, I'm not really sending something digital, not in the same way that I could send a picture as an email attachment. What sending really is requesting the ledger be updated. So I say to the ledger, I say, excuse me, Mr. Ledger, could you please reflect me sending 3 Bitcoins to this guy by making my account have 3 fewer, making his account have 3 more. If you look here at this website, blockchain.info, you can see in real time all the requests to update the ledger as they are coming in. And every time you see a transaction of more than 23 Bitcoins going through, you have to do a shot. So if anybody can request the ledger be updated, that creates an opening for a lot of scammers, doesn't it? Because I could just say, please update my balance to be 1 million Bitcoins. So these transactions have to be checked for fraud. They have to be checked that A, nobody is spending money they don't have, and B, nobody is spending money that they don't have the correct private key or password to unlock. So who does all this checking? And this is where Bitcoin is really revolutionary, because it's not checked by a bank, it's not checked by a Bitcoin company. There is no Bitcoin company. It is checked by whoever wants to check it. I could very easily make this computer here into part of the global network that checks and verifies Bitcoin transactions. And that is totally unlike any other financial system. If you take MasterCard, for instance, if I want to use my MasterCard to send money to a shopkeeper, then MasterCard say, okay, we'll enable that. We will do all the number shuffling. We will do all the cryptography. And we will take, what is it with MasterCard, 3% or something like that. But with Bitcoin, it's not a service being provided to me by a company. It is a user-controlled financial infrastructure. I can be a user of Bitcoin. I can send and receive them. I can also be part of the Bitcoin bank. So it's almost like you are your own bank. Another way to put it is that it is a money without banks, a money without bankers. And that has a very interesting effect on society because, to my mind at least, people who control financial institutions, people who control banks, have too much power nowadays. And if we can create a financial system where we can do everything the banks do, but without banks, that's a new kind of society you're talking about. Okay, so firstly, Bitcoin is a distributed database. Nobody's in charge. Secondly, it's a digital token. And thirdly, anybody can be part of it. Next point is that these transactions that you saw coming in to the ledger, those aren't added to the ledger one by one. About 10 minutes worth of them are chunked together into a block. So a block is 10 minutes worth of transactions, 10 minutes worth of updates to the ledger. Bitcoin was started in 2009. 10 minutes after it was started, it was updated. 10 minutes after that, it was updated. You can think of Bitcoin as being nothing other than a ledger that has been updated every 10 minutes and continues to be updated every 10 minutes. So all the computers on the network are looking for a valid block, a valid 10-minute chunk of transactions. And they're whirring away, doing their little mathematical things in their little computer brains. And then one of them says, hey guys, I've found a valid block. And the rest of them say, let me see about that, kiddo. And so they pass the block around and they knock on it and make sure it's sound. And when half of them have agreed that, yes, this is a valid block, then the block gets added to the chain of blocks. Maybe that's why they call it the blockchain. So that has been happening every 10 minutes since 2009, as I said. The interesting effect of this system is that it makes it nearly impossible. I'm going to say impossible, insofar as anything can be impossible in the world. Impossible to put in invalid data. I can't just slip in rogue data into the Bitcoin database, into the Bitcoin ledger, unless 51% of the computers on the network agree to add something to the blockchain. Nothing gets added. And the NSA actually sent one of their top programmers, one of their top hackers, to look into this question. And he said, unless I took over half the computers on the network, and they're all in different countries, they have different owners, there are many thousands of them, unless I did that, I have no idea how I could corrupt the Bitcoin ledger. He said it was the most secure digital system ever created. So a blockchain is a distributed database. Anybody can become part of it. Anybody can request data be added to it, but that data doesn't get added to it until 51% of the computers agree that it's valid. Then when they do agree that it's valid, it gets added permanently. Anybody can see it. Anybody can see what data was added, when it was added, and nobody can remove the data. Nobody can rewrite history. The blocks added to the chain are permanent. So that's what Bitcoin is. And Bitcoin was the first blockchain. It invented the blockchain concept. It's by far the most famous, and it's the biggest. But it's not the only blockchain. Tristan is going to talk about a different blockchain, Ethereum. We can also make new blockchains as we wish. We have the code. It's open source code that anybody can compile and create new blockchains with as they wish. And they don't have to be just for finance. You see, we have a new technology now. In the same way the internet was a new technology, in the same way cameras are a new technology, in the same way flint axes were a new technology. We have a new tool that we can do new things with. And think about it. Think about what are the implications and the applications of a computer system that is secure, that is decentralized, which makes it invulnerable both to natural disasters like hurricanes or floods, power outages, or Godzilla-related attacks, and also to corruption and malicious actors. There's no gatekeepers, there's no authorities that can tamper with it. Those are the two advantages of decentralization. what are the applications of a computer system that is public and transparent, where data is added can be audited by anybody? I mean, one thing that pops to my mind is blockchain-based voting. And this is something I want to work on, is creating a voting system where in the same way I can send Bitcoins to a person, I can send votes to a candidate. That will mean that we have a voting system where no authority can perform vote tampering like they can in a centralized system. And any civic-minded person could look at this public voting blockchain, could inspect the data, make sure it's all valid and all sound. And the last point I want to make is that while blockchains are not efficient as computing system goes, they're much faster ways of sending data, much faster ways of processing data with computers. It is still far, far, far more efficient than bureaucracies. Because if I make an international bank transfer, I need to pay a transaction fee because that has to cover the heating and lighting of my bank, has to cover the real estate, has to cover the bank clerk's wages, has to cover the janitor's wages. And the same for the bank that is receiving the money. Two banks, two bureaucracies have to be paid for. Bitcoin is already outperforming banks in terms of speed. It has much, much lower transaction fees. So any system that is currently performed by a bureaucracy, if we can replace that with a blockchain or decentralized system, we can outcompete the existing systems. Whether they're public sector or private sector, the pirate sector can create something that is more efficient and faster. And this is why I think it is realistic to say the blockchains can change the world. Because it's easy for someone like me or Tristan to get excited about the social and philosophical implications of it, but, well, not everybody shares our social philosophy, to be honest. So other people aren't going to care about that. But end users do care about a faster, quicker, more efficient, and cheaper service. And if we can create blockchain-based services that not only do what governments and corporations do, but do it better, then we can create a new world, because we are doing what St. Buckminster Fuller said we should do. We are creating a new model that makes the old model obsolete.